Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of our Researchers Celebrities. And today the researcher which we have is Dr. Bharath Panwar. And Dr. Bharath came a long journey from a small village in Rajasthan, and now he is a well-established lead, a global lead in a company at USA in San Francisco based, if I'm true.
Amgen.
Amgen. So now today we'll be listening from Dr. Bharat various aspects what he have been through, and mostly the most important part of our web series, how his experience can be utilized and used as a milestone for our upcoming researchers. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Bharat and Dr. Bharat.
Thank you, Dr. Raja, and thanks for inviting me to this platform. And I'd be more than happy to provide any guidance or anything like my career journey, what I did. So I hope it will be helpful to your audience.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's start this. That what I know about you as in brief, as a researcher and as a person, how how a boy in Rajasthan started thinking to become a researcher.
Yeah, so let me start with like my primary education. So that time I was in a small town of the Western Rajasthan. And because my father, he was the engineer in the water department, and he used to have actually a lot of transfers. So that's why he put me in the boarding schools from the 7th standard when I was only 11 year old. From that time, I'm living in the hostels. So the first school I was in, that was kind of army school. And so first 3 years was very difficult for me because I wasn't into sports and all. So in that school you have to wake up very early in the morning 5 and then run at least for 5 to 10 kilometers, and in the evening also you need to play some kind of sports. It was mandatory and I didn't like that. So the one thing was sure that I'm not going to be sports person or anywhere related to physical exercise. So that I ruled that out. And after that, from in my 10th standard, uh, I, I went to another schools, and that schools I really liked because it was very laid back, and people were like they were interested more into the science there. And so although I was good in the mathematics, and my father also wanted me to pursue career in mathematics because he was engineer, so he was like, oh, I want someone actually from my family to continue in mathematics. But at that time, because my teacher in the school from the biology, he was really good and I liked him. So for only for that reason, I chose actually in biology. So because I really like these all biology part, like how the human development, especially like that part, I really liked. So it was really good, and I wanted to be a doctor, but because if you are in the biology, it was very common that oh you'll be a doctor. So I think that's why I tried for the medical exam. I couldn't succeed into that, and underneath I was like, I really don't want to be the doctor because for me I think it was very hectic, and I seen some of the doctors are like, no, I don't want that kind of lifestyle, and I'll go more into research side. And so then I did my bachelor in biology, and that time then master in the biotechnology. Until that I wasn't sure that I'll go into the proper research side or not. But what I really wanted to have is the uh, higher education, because I've seen actually from my family and people were not going into the higher education. I was like, I'll be the first person who actually go into higher education. If I get chance into the research side or the PhD, I'll do that. So I prepared for the fellowships, uh, for the research fellowships, and I got actually selected into the CSIR or DBT fellowships. And after that, I started looking for the research institutes. So that's how it started. And one thing I really enjoyed is the genetic engineering and the immunology and molecular biology in my master's. When I was in master, I really like those concepts are very new to me, and I realized that they are very powerful. The DNA is very powerful. As you can see now, also like all these murder mystery cases like unsolved from 70s, 80s. Now people are solving after 20, 30 years after, only based on some like DNA fragments. So you can see how powerful it can be. And at the same time, when I was looking for PhD, I tried for a lot of institutes, but especially the Institute of Microbial Technology. When I went there and I got selected in the interview, and I was like, which lab I should join. So I went to Dr. Raghav's lab, and where people were working on the computer, and it's just like totally computational. I asked there, like, is it possible to have PhD only on the computer without doing any experiments? And they are saying, yeah, it is possible. So that was really fascinating. And also another side, I was like, okay, instead of spending the whole like PhD 5 year on like one particular gene or protein to characterize them, if I can like do some kind of system analysis to involve like through the taking all the genes and protein into consideration. And so I think like that's something I really find interesting. I had no experience of the programming or anything, but I think PhD is very long period. You can learn anything you want. And so I what I really realized that if you start PhD, it is like buying a stock. It's like you should believe in that company, like where that technology or company will be next few years. You cannot invest something today that is doing very good today, but you are not sure how it will be after few years. So that's how actually I seen as a bioinformatics. When I joined my PhD in the bioinformatics, I I remember like the other people, they were not very convinced with what we were doing in the experimental biology. They were like, oh, you guys are doing something, but it wasn't making much sense to them. But somewhere actually I felt like it doesn't matter. With time we'll have the better technology, and people will believe that all these, how important these genomics technology can be. And that time they consider bioinformatics as a kind of helping tool that just help whatever like the hypothesis they have. They just re-verify with the bioinformatics, and then they say, oh, like we are seeing from bioinformatics analysis also we are seeing. But my approach was the bioinformatics should be data driven or totally hypothesis free. We do something totally data driven, and then tell them like, we are finding this pattern, go and verify if you can do in experimentally. So that's what actually I wanted to do. But because I was in the bioinformatics department, and that time it wasn't possible, but that was always in my mind. So that's why it was really very good training there in Dr. Raghav's lab. And I published paper, finished my PhD there, and then I moved to University of Michigan Medical School for my postdoc. And that time also I was in the bioinformatics department. I developed some of the tools, prediction methods, and the databases, and had some collaboration with the experimental lab, for example, T cell development or the ataxia disease. But all they wanted to have, like, we have this transcriptomic data and just compare these two groups, find these genes, differentially express genes, do pathway enrichment analysis, and just support their manuscript. So at one point, like, it was good, but I wasn't very happy with that. I like, no, it's not enough, because that I don't think that was the good use of the bioinformatics. So then I moved here in San Diego. That's the La Jolla Institutes for Immunology. And I applied here, and I was specifically interested because they said they have one project sponsored by a company, Kirin, and that project is on the lupus. And you will, all they want actually from totally data driven bioinformatics analysis, they want to have some drug targets, because lupus, it is a autoimmune disease, and it's very heterogeneous. It is very complicated heterogeneous disease, and they are saying if you can find suggest any drug targets, then they will go and do like the testing on the animals. And so I find that very interesting, that here I have some kind of freedom to play with the data. And I worked on that data for 3 years. We published paper in the Genome Research that was published as a cover on April 2021. And it was really good learning. By that, I realized I need to be close. That I really like the translational bioinformatics. Like whatever we do, it should go somewhere, and that's why I got into the industry properly. So I started applying into the different industries, and I got actually multiple offers. And I chose the Amgen. That is the biotech company. I think one of the biggest biotech company. And because here I'm more involved in the development side, so my work starts from the first in human. When the clinical trial starts, then my work starts. So it is very real time what we work. So I really like the idea to applying all these bioinformatics and the genomics tools in a real time, where uh, you see all the patients, they are in the hospitals, and you're actually compounds kind of helping them, or whether you see the adverse event or you see the efficacy, you try to make sense both sides. And based on the data, if you can predict anything, then you will have the result in few months. You will know the result whether it's working or not. So I really like that idea. This is something outside of the academia. Academia, we build everything based on the academia. So academia, like their huge contribution, like they generate the knowledge, and then uh, everything we develop now is based on their knowledge generated by the academia. So that is all. But what my personal interest is to like find something translational, and it's just like whether we can do this with the bioinformatics or not. So now you see a lot of actually the pharma companies, they are very interested in the genomics or bioinformatics, computational biology side, because they bet a lot on their compounds. Like they spend huge money over there. So anything if they can find, like for example, if the genomics can help, or they want to go into the precision medicine side, it can help to design their clinical trials, or like in the patient stratifications or anywhere, it's very useful for them. If you can predict the adverse event in early stage, that can save some of people's life. So that's how I find interesting. And so what I would say, it's not like I planned, like when I was in Rajasthan or in my master, I planned that I'll do this and then I'll go into bioinformatics, and then I'll go into industry. I did not plan that, but I plan for next few years, 2 3 years. I can say like I plan for next few years, and then I see what's the best available option there. So I pick from that. So
Oh,
that's my
very, yeah. That sounds like quite a journey. And you mentioned about that whenever you thought that, okay, I want to join PhD, you
yeah,
started thinking as an investment for 5 years. And
yes.
I would like to say to all our viewers that this is a, I think, a noble way for me to look
Mhm.
into that when you are starting, when you're committing yourself for a PhD, that the fruit will come after some time. And
Mhm.
if you have a question, as Dr. Bharat said, that he has this data driven thing, he wanted to do something which might or might not is supported at that point of time. But if you are consistent enough, and I believe that this project is the thing which you got the patent also. You got the patent. It is
Uh,
from.
so that is something interesting. I would tell it's so when the one patent we have from the La Jolla Institutes, that is for the cancer immunotherapy side.
Mhm,
So I worked on both sides. So major project was on the lupus, that is the autoimmune disease. So here basically your immune system is hyperactive. So
mhm,
your whole goal is how you can suppress the immune system through the immunosuppressors or steroids. So like if you can suppress your immune systems, or all these like T regulatory cells or the checkpoint inhibitors, they are all good because they are taking your immune system into the keeping immune system into control. But the other
mhm,
side, I was working on the cancer immunotherapy side. So there, your immune system is so suppressed that it cannot kill the tumor or the cancer cells. So your goal, how can you activate the immune system?
mhm,
So this then all these, like you want to control the T regulatory cells, and like you want to control the checkpoint inhibitors and want to activate. So I think it's all the balance, both sides.
mhm,
Like how you can keep your immune system the balance. You don't want this to hyperactive. You don't want to be hypersuppressive.
mhm,
So that is something interesting because I work both sides, and I find that is very helpful. Right now, I'm at Amgen. I'm handling the leukemia portfolio. It's all
mhm,
blood cancers, and so it helped to think both sides. And because overall, you see, like what you need to, every person is different. When we look
Absolutely.
for the precision medicine point of view, every person is different. Their immune system is different. What
Yes.
immune status a person is at this particular moment. So you have to prescribe actual medicine based on that.
Mhm.
So that is something we are working on. So the paper is that about, we find actual one particular cell types, the T follicular helper cells, that
Mhm.
basically is very helpful in activating the tumors, activating, sorry, the uh,
Pathways.
immune cells, particular immune cells, the tissue resident memory cells that basically kill the tumor. So that helps the CD8 cells basically. Yes.
So how do you like, because now you have experience and you are our first researcher from company, so you have the experience of academia as well as industry. What is the basic difference, which, or a couple of differences which you will see that, okay, it is different when you are doing it in academia and it is different when you are in industry?
Yes. So I think the first is the distinction with the academia and the industry distinction. That's something we make. Science, no distinction. For science,
Lovely.
it doesn't matter where it's
Yeah.
coming from, whether it's coming
Mhm.
from the industry or from the academia, because people think, some people, they think like, oh, science only come from the academia. No, it's not true. In industry also, people do really good science,
Mhm.
and then they do the translational science as well. Like, it's a whole journey from the target discovery to like the, so it can come from anywhere. First is like, there's no such distinction, and
Nice.
that I really believe in. I think
Mhm.
it's all its matters is like where you are making the difference.
Mhm.
That's what all matter. If you're making difference in academia, that's really good. You don't need to go into the industry only for sake of the going into industry, or vice versa. So
Nice.
if you are making difference anywhere, you're all good. But thing is like the resources, and where because whole the drug discovery and the drug development process need a lot of money, like it's in
Mhm.
terms of the, so for any one particular institute it's not possible. So that's why
Mhm.
actually why you need to go sometime in the big pharma, because they have the whole system to do that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why I prefer that. But uh, especially in the US, you see people go very freely, like they move very freely between the academia and the industry based on their interest, and at the particular time what they are interested in. So that's something I think like it's kind of taboo. Like, people, they say, like when they say, oh, I transitioned from the industry, from the academia to industry after spending a lot of training, like after
Mhm.
doing PhD, postdoc, and spending a lot of time in the academia, and then they suddenly move into the industry and then say, oh, like it's like a successful transition. I don't
Mhm.
find that successful transition, because for me,
Okay.
like, if you are not making any difference in academia and then move to industry, I don't see that as a successful transition.
Nice. Very well said. I
Yeah.
think nice way the way you have put it. And
Yeah.
I would like to mention here to all our viewers that, as Dr. Bharat said, it is the distinction which you made in your brain, academia versus industry. So as he mentioned here, it is just like, if you are contributing enough, then you are good as a researcher. You can be either in academia or in research in industry. It is up to you. Yes, it has its own pros and cons, but
Mhm.
then one question arises, as you said, that there is funding issue. Okay,
Mhm.
and then if someone who is pursuing his PhD and have a role that, as you said, that you always wanted to do a translational research,
Yes.
that if you see the translational research part, if people, because now we have interviewed a few of our researchers which are very focused and dedicated, they want to
Yes.
do translational research so that people can get benefited by their research.
Mhm.
So what are your guidance for those dedicated researchers which want to make a change to human society by their research?
Yes, definitely. So what I would really suggest is the academia and industry, they both can coexist. So one of the things I really encourage is the collaboration. It doesn't matter your geographical location. You can always find some of the industries around you. There you can collaborate and try to, because for industry also, sometimes like some of the small pharma industries, they don't have their home setup, like they don't have their bioinformatics computational biology department, or like they don't have the whole team who can do all these genomics and bioinformatics analysis for them. You can always collaborate with them, you can get the real data from them, and then you can help them. You can
Nice.
publish that discovery if you find from there. but basically it's helpful for both sides. So that's what I think I did here in Lavia Institutes, because we had collaboration with the Kyowa Kirin. We got data from them, the project were funded by them, and like based on what we find, it helped them also. So both sides it helped. So one of the things I really encourage is more collaboration between the industry and academia. And also what I will suggest, if your audience are in the master or the PhD student, to go for the internship. If you are interested into the, if you just want to see whether you like being in industry or not, go for the internship. That's very popular here in the US. It's almost kind of trend. People in the PhD, they will go for the internship in the industry, and if they like, after finishing their PhD, they'll join as a full-time employee there. So that is kind of trend that actually we don't see in the India. Because I think in the master or in the PhD, it is very important to go and do different internship you are interested in, especially in the industry. You can target the industry, you can write to their HRs and like meet people on the LinkedIn and try to get internship, so that you know whether you like or not.
Nice. I think this idea of internship nowadays, it is coming up very strongly in India also, that even at Empowering Science Foundation, we have collaborated with a couple of industries. And if our researchers are interested to do internship with them, they can communicate with us, and then we do send it to them. And at our Empowering Science Foundation also, we do have some basic infrastructure where we are supporting people who can just come, and depending according to their curriculum, if they want to do a 4-week training or 6 weeks. So this is also something which I would like to mention here, and to all our audience, that if you're interested in research, you should give it a try. First, do internship. Okay, that's when you know that what it takes. Because if it is just a wet lab work, it has its own limitations that you have to dedicate that time. If you're working on computers, if it is computational, then it comes with a different set of limitations, or I say the freedom. So in one way, you have freedom to work from home. In one way, you have to be in laboratory to do the experiments. It is entirely up to you, and you have to pick what makes you most comfortable. So coming back, Dr. Bharath, when you have this freedom that you need not to go to lab, that you need not to go to any office, you are at your home. People think that work from home is like, yeah, you are always at the home. And how tough, or how do you deal with the pressure that you also have some deadlines, which you have to maintain? And to our knowledge, we have interviewed some people, and they said that sometimes it is like 18 hours a day when they're working on the systems and computers.
No, it's not. It's not that much. Like it is also depend on the project you are working on, and sometimes you can get really busy. But what I really think, if you are spending that much time, it means like somewhere like you're lacking the efficiency. You have to be efficient enough to finish your work within time frame. And that's also like, you should not take all this work that you think like it will take a lot of your time. You will not have the time for yourself. You always need to have time for yourself, so you can get relaxed, and then you work properly. Because whatever you're doing, like if you're coding or anything, you need to have like the fresh, like your so that you can think more. So other than that, what I really want to emphasize here is, when you spend a lot of time on your PhD, you become the expert of that field. You are really expert of that field, but then you always lack something, like you don't know much about other things. So this is really good that you learn in your whole PhD that how to really focus on one thing. That is very good skills. Not many people have. You can only get these skills after you spend that much time. You cannot acquire that skills. So that is the skills you have. But once you have that, then another what you can do is, you are actually able to learn anything you want. Now you don't need any supervisor. That's what I feel. Once you have the PhD, if you want to learn anything, you can spend some time on that, because you are already so focused, you know how to learn anything. So then you can acquire a lot of different skills. What really matters in industry is like uh, diversity of your skills, because here you won't have the one project for 5 years or something. Like they will have different programs going on parallel, and then based on priority they change, they shut down the
Yeah.
whole program, and then next day they say, oh, like this is the highest priority program, you have to focus on this, and that is totally different program. It can be totally out of your expertise, but you should have that skills. Like I learned within few days or few weeks, I learned about this from somewhere. So that's that kind of skills you need to develop. So one of the thing it can help, like internship, and also like learn from what others are doing in your institutes, wherever you are, go like what technology they are. You don't need to be expert in that, just know like these technology exist, if or these kind of things exist, that if you anywhere, if you find that useful, you can apply that. That's why like people who can really make, like those are in the intersection, they are the very, they can make more difference. For example, right now you see a lot of pharma industry, they are working on the immuno-oncology sides, the cancer
Yes.
immunotherapy side.
Mhm.
So if you are an immunologist, if you are good in the computer, if you are a bioinformatician as well,
Mhm.
and that is really good transaction, the
Mhm.
intersection,
Mhm.
you know both sides basically.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then if you are good actually in the biostates,
Mhm.
that is normally it come in the umbrella of the bioinformatics, but sometimes you see biostats is totally different, because
Yes.
it's more like you need to know the right biostatistical test, where when it should be applied, and so more into like mathematics side. So I mean, like if you have the different skills, and if you are in the intersection of that, that
Mhm.
you can communicate very freely with the immunologist or the
Nice.
biostatistician or the computational biologist, then you are in
Mhm.
very good. And also like if you can talk very freely with the different vendors, because in the industry you have to talk to the different
Yes.
vendors on the asset development side, and the what technology, the latest technology available there that can be
Mhm.
useful in your program. So I think if you develop the skills that put you into that intersection, then there will be plenty of the opportunity for you. So that's what make difference. For example, if you see the take the Elon Musk as a example,
Mhm.
he considered himself as a businessman.
Mhm.
No, sorry, as an engineer. He doesn't
Mhm.
consider himself as a businessman. He considers himself as an engineer, but he's a very good businessman.
Mhm.
He can talk to anyone about the
Mhm.
business, but he knows very well all these technology behind, like whatever they are doing. He's very good in that. So that's why I think he's very successful, because most of people you see, they are expert in one field, but they cannot really uh, they don't know much about totally different like the other, that can be very useful in what they are doing. So
Absolutely. I think collaboration, as you rightly said, and then the second part is this networking. When you have the network, I
yes.
believe this is also one of the very important part, that how you, even if you have a basic idea of something but you are not expert of it, because of your networking you have some expert of the same thing, and then you just collaborate everybody together on the
Yes.
same page, and then that's how you make your research work flourish.
Mhm.
Very,
Yes.
very important, and I think very crucial point in any of the research. So
Mhm.
here now we are almost our closing time. What
Mhm.
you want to share, or what is your guidance with your expertise of almost 2 decades of research now, that why people whosoever wanted to join research, what are the checkpoints which they check themselves before committing their, as you said, 3 years, 5 years, or a longer run of future?
Yeah, so that is something I always consider as, it is marathon. It is
Mm-hmm.
not the sprint. So it is marathon. First, actually be ready for that. And once you are ready for a marathon, then what really matter is, I don't think time really matters, because
Mm-hmm.
anyhow you will spend that time. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, people they get, oh, like I'll spend 4 or 5 years in the PhD, and then it's too much time. But you'll get, you somewhere you'll spend 4 or 5 years. So just see what other option is. If you think
Mm-hmm.
like you can better spend your time 4 or 5 years somewhere else, then it's all good. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have actually any solid plan for that, then I don't think PhD is the best, like the bad option for you. See,
Mm-hmm.
so it's always like, what is the alternative you have there? What
Mm-hmm.
and but what? personally, I would say like PhD is something like it's really worth of your time. But what really matters is like from where you're doing, and not only your lab actually, like overall like institutes, what other people are doing, what kind of exposure you're getting just from like, because that's the kind of people you always in your circle, they always been in your circle. From there, like skills you can learn. So if you're in India, if you can go into the national level laboratories or the CSIR, DBT institutes or ICMRs, and I think then you can really learn more from there. Or like there's always option, you can go to Europe, UK, US, and so, but what really matters is like if you go to any labs, they have their already existing like the technology they work, like it's very kind of, some of the labs they are very settled lab. They have everything so planned that you once you join there, they already give you like this will be your work for next 5 years. I don't find that is interesting, because if they have everything so set up, then you can think of the technology, it's like it will be outdated by the time you finish the PhD. You should always start with the people who have very new actually ideas, something like totally new technology. So even after 5 years, you will be somewhere knowing actually the new technologies. So what I really, why I focus on the cutting edge like new technology, it's not like the only these technology. For example, people are doing all the special transcriptomic or single cell like ATAC-seq and all. It's not all only about technology or data. It's like that technology will give you some the data or the resolution of data that is not possible otherwise.
Okay.
So that's why it is important. You can find something totally new that wasn't available to anyone until now.
Yeah.
So you have the access of that. So that's the power of technology. That's why I always encourage people to go after the technology. I believe in that. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion. But yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is very good enough, because they and I think essentially what you mentioned is like they have to bring their own questions also. Because if you have been given your project, then you're just following it. This, I think in research, the question is the driving thing. As you always you had this question that, okay, I want to do a data-driven science, not anything else. It should not be biased. And that's I think that is the integral soul of research, that it should not be biased. You start with fresh brain. Your result says that, okay, now it is going in this direction or in another direction. You follow the lead, and that's when you made the path. So our viewers, I would like to say that this is how Dr. Bharath transformed from a town to a top-notch institute in India, and now have global lead at Amgen, just because he had this clarity that he wanted to do something translational, which he's doing, for which he has published a lot of scientific journals of international repute, and the patent which is also going to help human health in very near future. So we would like to thank Dr. Bharath for your time, and I'm taking this leverage from Dr. Bharath that if you want to contact Dr. Bharath directly, he is all over the social media. Even Genome Research has published his work on the front cover page. So he is very easy to approach. And if you want, you can contact Empowering Science Foundation also, and then we can put you in the connection. Thank you very much, Dr. Bharath.
Thank you, Dr. Raza, for having me. And it was always pleasure to talking to you. And people can connect me on the LinkedIn. Totally, I'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you so much, and all the best for your foundation, Empowering Science Foundation. I'm sure it will help a lot of researchers.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Yeah.